Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for being with us today or whenever you're watching this video. My name is Wendy Fracchia and I'm with Murdock Escorted Tours, and we are doing a fabulous tour this year to the beautiful countries of Germany and Austria, because this year is a very special time that we are going to be celebrating the 60th anniversary of one of, I think, everybody's favorite movies, The Sound of Music. And we have got with us a very special guest, Bruce Newbold, who is going to be a host on this tour. And so we're excited to share this with you. So let me just go ahead and take a second, and we're going to have you, let's see, meet Bruce Newbold. Bruce, hello.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much. Good to be with you. I'm excited about this tour. I look at the opportunities here and the beautiful scenery and also the connection not only with the sound of music but with the history of World War II and the more distant past that goes into so many different regal families and constructions and buildings and castles and so forth that this is an incredible opportunity. So I'm honored to be a part of it with you. So just to introduce myself a little bit, my career was in LA. I worked there as an actor and a writer from probably, well, 17 years, 16 years or so, from 1985 to 2001. During that time, I had an awful lot of opportunities to do some filming back up here in Utah. And so we were familiar with companies and so forth. I left LA in 2001 and came up to Utah again and continued to do mostly on camera stuff. Disney had some things. Touched by an Angel was being filmed, and a few other words.
I sure miss that show.
I know that was wonderful. We did Everwood, and so some of those kind of things were being done here, and then ended up getting more into production on the other side of the camera. So anyway, when I see an opportunity like this, where we get to explore a little bit of the filming of The Sound of Music, then I think that's a lot of fun. And I actually see Robert Wise was the director of that film. And when I was in LA, I submitted a script to Robert Wise. And I was really surprised to see him write me a handwritten note back telling me how he appreciated the screenplay, but he didn't think he was in a situation to be able to move on it at that point in time. I think he was getting a little older, which was a kind way of saying, I just don't like the script. Maybe that's it.
But at least he took the kind method, and that's always so appreciated. I'm sure there was a lot of people in LA who probably didn't, but it's your connection to the Hollywood and the acting. And of course, we started this because we knew that so many people, again, we all grew up with The Sound of Music, and those children, is have become such a part of our life in the music. And I think we've all done, school concerts where we've sang the songs, but it's an annual tradition in some families. And seeing the imagery that the movie put out there, it was just so amazing. And so many people have wanted to go and experience those beautiful rolling hills of Bavaria, and to see those fun sights. And it kind of brings the movie alive, and it is such a great opportunity, go and celebrate. And this is a really special year because there's going to be a lot of reference all over to The Sound of Music. And I know that Bruce is just going to be a fabulous, fabulous guide. And Bruce, probably your eyes, I'm sure, bugged out when you saw this slide that there are so many words. Why would there be so many words on a slide? I think that I just wanted everybody to see some of the fun things that this tour has in store for them. The Bavarian charm, the history, like you mentioned. I think it's the history of the region, the World War II history, as well as the beautiful, breathtaking setting of The Sound of Music, the beautiful palaces, Mozart. Anybody who's into classical music of any is just going to so enjoy Vienna, and it's the elegance of this era. It's just so beautiful. So sorry for all the words. I just really hope that you'll take the opportunity to go to our webpage and read a little more detail about that. But the purpose of this webinar is really just to introduce you to what this tour is. Let us explain it to you so you don't have to read all the details. So I'll talk a little bit as well as Bruce about these amazing sites. Me representing the operational end, and Bruce, of course, all the amazing sites that we're going to see. So this tour is the end of August. And if you've ever traveled in Europe in August, you know it's a busy season. It's where the Europeans travel in August. But at the end of the month, they all go back to their regular lives. And September, it starts cooling down. And you don't have quite as many crowds. So this is actually a really magical window where you still get wonderful weather, but the crowds are not going to be as immense as they would have been mid-August or as it gets into the fall. So it's not quite into the fall foliage, but since you are in Bavaria and in the mountains, it is going to start to see a little bit of the changing of the colors. So whether or not that will be an opportunity on this year, because you never know year to year anymore. But the tour starts in Munich, so that's where you'll fly into, and you'll get to tour this amazing capital city. And between the significance of World War II there, and again the wonderful buildings and the Olympics that were done there, the city is just amazing. From Munich, we're going out to the heart of Bavaria. We're going to see Neuschwanstein Castle. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but that's going to be a highlight. Going to Salzburg, and Salzburg is the heart of Sound of Music land. So that's when the hills will come alive, and it will be everything that you want it to be. So a couple of days there in the Salzburg area. Then we're going to get on the road. We're going to now, Bruce, do you know how to pronounce I never say it, Berchtesgaden? Berchtesgaden? Does that
I
sound
don't,
right?
yeah, I think it's Berchtesgaden.
There you go. You've got the right accent, I'm sure. Which is part of the mountainside, but that's also where you're going to see the Eagle's Nest, which was one of Hitler's World War II places that he did a lot of operational things from. From there to Salzburg, I'm leaving Salzburg into Innsbruck, another capital city, and then, of course, ending in Vienna. And that's where you will fly home. So this is an 11-day tour. It does include the flying time. So day 1 and day 11 is mostly traveling. But the rest of the time, you are just going to be so incredibly thrilled with everything that we have planned for you. So and Bruce, again, this is kind of an operational day, so I'll just give a little bit here. We are planning our group flights to arrive in on the morning. So day 1 is the day you depart, day 2 is the day you're going to arrive. And it's really important, if you've done any long distance traveling like this, that you stay awake as you get into the new time zone. Europe this time of the year, it's either 7 or 8 hours ahead of us. So we're going to keep you up moving. We're going to do a panorama city tour of Munich. It's a very safe city to get out and walk around. We're going to show you a lot of the different city and sites, and take you to the famous Oktoberfest beer gardens, which is just such a sight to see. But this is a fun day before we'll do like a welcome dinner that night, and then you can collapse in your bed to get over your jet lag. This is the next day. And that's really about all the time you're going to get in Munich. because from there we go out into this beautiful countryside. I mean, look at that picture. And of course, if you are a Disney fan, you're going to recognize this castle. This is the famous Neuschwanstein Castle, which was Walt Disney's total inspiration behind the castles at Disney. And it is also a historic place with World War II. Bruce and I were just talking. If you watch the movie Monuments Men that came out, it was in the 2019 sometime, so about 10 years ago. I'm not sure when, but
2014.
it talks about the World War II effort to save the great artworks in Europe during the war when they were being bombed. But Hitler stole so many, and he hid a lot of them right here in this amazing castle. Bruce, were you going to say something?
I was going to say the film was 2014. There were some other films that were done here, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which I only remember from 1968. So that
It's
goes
a
way back.
favorite.
Yeah. And it was interesting because the woman who played the lead in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was also the one who was the first to do the touring company of The Sound of Music, starting from New York. So there's a little bit of a connection there with Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and The Sound of Music. Even
Oh,
the Great Escape here was filmed in 1963. I never saw Spaceballs, but I know some people kind of think it's the funny one from 1987. To me, one of the fun things about this castle, it was built by an 18-year-old king, Ludwig II. So
easy Louie.
yeah, that's right. So Ludwig was known as the Swan King or the Fairy Tale King, primarily because he says, I want to build this castle because he was into the arts, but he got into the arts a little so much that people thought he lost his mind. He invited Richard Wagner to this castle because he wanted to have this being a place of opera festivals. So Richard Wagner came and saw what he was doing. But the challenge was here was this 18-year-old that was spending more money than he had to build this castle. And eventually he ran out of money completely and kind of lost his wits about him. They found him dead a few years later in the little pond nearby this castle. So his death is a little mysterious, but the company or the country was in great debt because of what he was doing. So
Because of
a few years
which
later,
I think adds to the mysteriousness of his death, right?
right. So they opened the castle in right after his death in 1866. In fact, 1886, I mean, and it has been open to the public ever since. And that's how they have paid for the debt on this castle by allowing people to come through and see it.
Well, if you see any castle in Europe, this one is definitely the one to see. And one thing that a lot of people didn't know, and I didn't know till I got there, but on the other side of this castle, you see the forest all the way around it, and it actually does sit up on a hill. There's this beautiful waterfall area that you can go down and walk through as well, depending on time involved. But it is just such a fun and highlight of the tour. So going through Bavaria, we had to pay homage to Neuschwanstein and Crazy King Louis, and this is going to be just such a super fun thing to see. Um, so going on, we leave Munich. So we go from Bavaria, we go back into Munich and overnight there. So you don't have to change hotels quite so many times. It's one of the things that's kind of nice about this is we keep those one-nighters down as much as possible. But from here, we are going into, like I said, Salzburg. This is the heart of the Sound of Music. And so you will get there and we'll get to have enough time in the afternoon to start doing some touring of the cathedral. Bruce, did you have anything specific you on this day that you wanted to mention?
Well, this is day 4, and I don't think we get the Mirabell Gardens on this day. I think that's maybe the next day.
That's right. Yeah, that was, I think, an error. I think we actually put that on there twice, didn't we? It's
Yeah.
so great we had to list it twice.
Well, once we get to that, Yeah, day 4 and 5 are when we begin to see not only the beauties of these local cities, but then we get into some of the actual filming sites of The Sound of Music, and those are always fun to step into that recreation in your mind and your imagination, and begin to sense where Julie Andrews was and the cast and the cameras and so forth to bring that to life in your imagination.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say, and look at these beautiful gardens. And these colors are going to be probably spot on for about the time that we're going to be there. Um, I think this is where you're really going to get a feel of what Austria is, and you're going to tell it feels different than Munich. And the people are just so kind and welcoming. You're really going to enjoy Salzburg. The next day, day 5, well, as you can see, this is a day that we really will get to enjoy the sights of the movie. And Bruce, is there anything that you're super excited about on this one? This one we are talking about Mirabell Gardens.
Sure.
That's the filming site of.
Mirabell Gardens is, if I understand it correctly, that's where you get the kids running up and singing the Do Re Mi, working with Julie Andrews on that. Mirabell Gardens are where you see those steps that come up to the building where they did the whole Do Re Mi, the final scene of that particular song with all the children on the steps. And it's really fun to dig into that because you're working with kids, and Robert Wise really struggled to make sure the timing was just perfect to get those kids running up the steps on the very last note so that they're all in place when Julie Andrews has, I think, one hand on her head and the other one's the hand, she's hitting that higher octave that they didn't anticipate her singing. So anyway, that's a beautiful place. The Leopoldskron Palace is another place where they did. Now, if I remember correctly, in front of that there is the pond in which the children fall out of the boat into the pond. Of
Oh,
course, they had to. The one littlest girl didn't know how to swim very well, and so they had people just out of the camera frame to be able to pull her up immediately and dry her off, get everything set, and do it again. I think they did it several times anyway. So that's always fun. I understand the gazebo that was at Leopoldskron Palace had to be moved a couple of times because people would come and see it. So they moved it. Of course, some of the things were filmed in Hollywood. They recreated this gazebo in Hollywood as well to get some of to do some filming, maybe a little bigger one to get some of the dance stuff done.
I was going to say with Liesel jumping from bench to bench, that's what I remember, how gracefully she did that.
Yeah. And the lighting was just perfect for the other one. I must have done something good.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful things. But they've moved this gazebo then to different places there in this area. So it is now outside the city at Schönbrunn Palace, if I remember correctly. But here's one thing that's interesting. I think the history of this particular palace. This was owned by the Reinhardt family, and the Reinhardt family were Jewish. And so in 1939, when Hitler put the pressure on the Jews, they fled and left this palace behind that the Nazis then occupied. But but Max Reinhardt was a young man at the time, fled to New York, got involved in theater of all things, and then fled to, well, not didn't flee, but traveled to New York, or from New York to Los Angeles, and was known for his directing of stage and film in the LA area in Hollywood. One of the most important ones of his works was A Midsummer Night's Dream that he did with James Cagney and Olivia de Havilland. He passed away in 1939, no, 1943, just before the end of World War II. And at the end of World War II, then this property, this Leopoldskron Palace, was returned to the Reinhardt family. But of course, Max was now passed away, and so it went on to his children. So just some fun history behind this area that we'll see.
Oh, oh my gosh. See, and I'm sure there's just like so many stories that like that one of the things that I love about our tours is obviously you can see that Bruce has got some wonderful stories and history and his insight from his background. But in each of these cities, we are going to have local guides, and they are going to be very specific. All the details, all the information. That they're going to be able to make sure that you get everything historically and the fun facts and of each of these wonderful cities that we are going to be traveling to. So Bruce, I love that you can add all that color to the information, but it's going to be nice that you don't have to carry the whole thing. So you don't have to study quite as hard. Um, Now this is where we're on day 6. We do a day trip out of Salzburg over to the Lake District. And we're going to see some of these beautiful sites, which Lake Wolfgang, St. Gallen, Galgen. I think you've got some facts on some of these sites.
Well, St. Michael's Church is the place where they filmed the wedding between, well, the Christopher Plummer, Julie Andrews wedding scene there for The Sound of Music. So it's interesting that they came up all the way up to the Lake District to film that rather than finding some churches down in the valley a little bit. But there's a little bit of history here in connection with this St. Michael's Church. So I'm hoping that we get into that and kind of be able to recreate that moment, the wedding scene.
Well, again, just look at these beautiful mountains. And I think that's the thing that you fall in love with the most about Austria, is these quaint small villages. And I say quaint, look at this beautiful big church, and you can see these timbered houses and hotels and the chalet styles up on the hill that those are what 4 5 story homes. Look at them, how they dwarf next to the church, and how much they really put into this area. Then of course you see that big beautiful hotel over there on the other side, but it all dwarfs next to the mountains and the beautiful lakes, and it is just a beautiful day there that you'll be enjoying. From there we are going to leave. Well, I believe it's another day trip, and we go again now further up into the Bavarian Alps. And this is where we're going to go and see the World War II sites really in depth, going to the Eagle's Nest and to the salt mines. This is always a highlight for so many. The salt mines is actually something that is really interesting. Again, referencing back to the Monuments Men movie, they really did a great job of emphasizing how important these salt mines are or were to preserving the great works of art, the masterpieces during the war. To Hitler was trying to build his great museum, and but that's where they stored them. Salzburg, meaning salt mine, or city of salt. I can't remember the exact definition, but Sal's coming from salt. This is just a region that's just so rich in that specific mineral. I
We will
didn't know,
see.
Bruce, if you had anything extra to add to that day.
Oh, not much, but it's interesting that the Nazis would have stored these paintings both in the salt mines and then in the what we will have seen the first day in the Neuschwanstein Castle in Bavaria. Those were both places where they kept, mostly from France, where they had stolen all those wonderful artworks. Those were the two places where they tried to keep them and preserve them away from the enemy. So if you ever saw the movie The Monuments Men, you get a sense of how the Jews worked so hard to find out where the art was hidden and
And
how to get
retrieve
those
it.
back. And so we'll see a couple of those places where Hitler and his men hid these wonderful paintings and artworks through World
I
War.
was just going to say, so not only is the homework to rewatch for the 192nd time The Sound of Music, before you go, get the songbook. We are already joking about we're going to provide everybody on the tour a songbook of The Sound of Music. So as everybody's ready to break into song together, you can do that and have all your words. But now they're going to have to add Monuments Men and several of those other ones to their viewing homework. Maybe they're films that they can find on the airplane for those long international flights to help prepare them.
I don't know.
Um,
And Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Yeah, we cannot forget Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Um, all right, so Salzburg to Innsbruck. Again, just an amazing Austrian home or town at the base of the mountains. So gorgeous. This is the birthplace is the birthplace of Mozart, isn't it?
Um,
Or
I don't know for sure on that.
you know what, it is Innsbruck. Oh, you know what? I was thinking it was somewhere else. I'm getting lost in all these Austrian cities, but there is an amazing village here, and I keep calling it a village, a city to go and explore. Did you have any references that you wanted? The Palace that we'll see.
The Hofburg Palace is gigantic, and I don't know how much they will allow us to see, but you can see this is the wonderful Habsburg. Well, I shouldn't say wonderful because they probably ruled with an iron fist, but they began ruling in this part of Europe in about 1200, and they finally finished that ruling conquest or that ruling influence in about the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s. So the Habsburg family pretty much governed this area for 700 years. And so we will have a chance when we will see the Hofburg Palace. And I don't know how much they will show of that palace because, again, every 100 years they will add another massive building to some side of it. And so there are these gradations and additions on to the original palace. But nowadays, that palace is simply a location of a national library, as well as a few national museums. And so once we get there, we'll have a chance to see how they explain that and what we are allowed to see within that massive palace.
Well, and it truly is. It is just amazing to see the lifestyle as you go in. So between Innsbruck and I'm just going to jump right into Vienna over here. You are going to hear a lot about this family and about all the different famous rulers that have come from it and married into it. And it really is so incredibly significant history through all of Europe. I mean, not just Austria, but Germany and France and England and the history. And there is a lot of movies as well about this family. And so we'll have to put it on the required watching homework. Um, so into Innsbruck to Vienna. Um, so many exciting things. So Bruce, pick out two things you're most excited about in Vienna. That's it. You only get two things.
Well, let me just start with the St. Stephen's Cathedral. That was originally built in 1137. Now you'll see, if you see it, you can see the kind of the part that was built in 1137, and then the rest was built behind it. And it was finally completed 400 years later. So it's incredible, 1137 to 1578. And did it survive World War II? Unfortunately, it was damaged by fire, repaired though, and fully reopened in 1952. And they've discovered, I'm not sure whether it was a discovery or if they knew this all along, the tombs beneath the church hold the remains of 72 members of the Habsburg dynasty. Now,
Wow.
I don't know what we get to see there, but to me, that history, to see a building that was begun in the 1100s, I mean, that's incredible. It's still standing. So that was one thing that I found very interesting in studying the history of this area.
Well, between the cathedral and opera houses and the palace, and one of the things I think is going to be a highlight for everybody on this tour is because obviously Mozart, the oh, why what the other classical geniuses that come from that area besides Mozart, because it's the only one that's coming off of my tongue right now.
Oh, well, this is the basis and the foundation for the film Amadeus as well, all taking place right here when Mozart was at his grandeur, and Amadeus was trying to figure out why he was so mediocre. Uh, well, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, and so the other composers were just feeling so mediocre and subordinate or uh, lacking the talent.
Yeah, lacking that because
Yeah,
yeah, it was just incredible. Okay, now we've got Amadeus on the movie list.
yep, that's right. There's another one.
Where does it end? One of the highlights that I was just going to is the wonderful concert. We're going to have a dinner concert on our last night. That's how we're going to end this fabulous tour in Vienna, is with a beautiful concert. So it'll really help you to appreciate. They always, bring in a opera singer, and it is just a great evening. So again, on day 11, like we mentioned before, that's a travel day. Sadly, it's the day we have to say goodbye. And you're flying home. But just kind of wrapping up on this, some of the highlights that we do on our tours with Morris Murdock Escorted Tours is we always only have a one bus experience, and we never fill that bus completely full so you feel like a sardine. Um, it hasn't happened before, yes, because things out of our control. However, most tours we keep them under the best maximum, so you do have a room to breathe. We have got the special director. Bruce, that's your title on this one. You are there to not only give this wonderful commentary and your expertise, but you're there to be their travel assistant and to make sure they get to A to B on time. The best thing about any group tour is that you're there to enjoy it and to just really make sure that you can relax and let us help you have the best experience possible. And our job is to make sure you don't miss anything, and that you get to go home knowing that you've had a fabulous experience. So we take care of all the time tickets and admissions to the different places. We do include everything that we list on the itinerary. So, listed on the itinerary obviously is the transportation. So, from the time you arrive into Munich until you fly home from Vienna, um, we have Bruce again, being there as your personal guide. Hotel, the touring outline as you see on the itinerary. Meals, we always have breakfast included every day. There's several dinners included, and the entrance to all the locations, and the audio headsets. Because again, while it won't be as busy as it would be mid-August, or even July, it is still going to be busy. Again, this is a special year with the Diamond Jubilee, 60th anniversary of the Sound of Music. So there's going to be quite a few people there. Those audio systems are going to be invaluable. Now, what's not included in our tour is the international airfare, the meals, tips for the local guides and drivers, and anything that you might do on your downtime. So, in the evening, if you decide to take in an extra concert or go and do any other touring or anything else, there really is not a lot of free time, to be honest with you, because we do want to make sure that we're maximizing your time on the tour so that you're seeing as much as you can and that we get as much included in this tour as possible. So For all of this, 11 days, everything that we just mentioned, the cost on this tour is $36.89 double, which means per person based on two people sharing a room. It is a little more for single, but it's not a ton more. Sometimes single people, it's, they charge twice the double price. In this case, 43.89. Right now, to sign up for the tour, it's only a $500 deposit to hold your space. Final payment isn't going to be due until the end of May. And we are helping people book flights to get over to Munich and home from Vienna, or you're welcome to do your own flights. So this is just a wonderful opportunity again to celebrate so much at the same time on this tour. We really hope that you'll choose to travel with us this year. Bruce is going to be an amazing host and guide through this area. And our phone number and website is listed below. I think, yep, I was going to say, I think that's the end of the PowerPoint. So we do invite you to travel with us. Please give us a call if you have any questions. Our website, you can find this tour under the Europe tab. And there's a big orange book now button. It's really easy to go in and reserve your space. There is still about I think, what did we say, Bruce? About 10 spots available still on the tour. So it's filling quickly. For a 25 tour, you definitely want to make your reservations now. So we hope that you will get to experience this opportunity in Germany and Austria this year. And we thank you for your time and watching. Bruce, thank you so much for being with us today and for your time and preparations.
I just think that this is a fantastic opportunity. So I'm looking forward to it. I love this area of the world. I love to see it connected to a beautiful film as well. So if that's on your bucket list, I certainly hope you can join us.
Well, thank you again, and we'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you on the airplane. We'll be seeing you in Germany and Austria this summer. So, thanks. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.